Friday at home, Saturday and Sunday at
Everybody knows where that is. They were the Hyundai. Yeah, right by the yellow. Decent lunch. The owners in there are hilarious. There was a here. I was texting
They're hooking up the camera there. From Florida, somewhere cold. He's had it on the jacket on. Shorts with these. Wherever it was, you were very good.
How you been? Parked right up on
Winter so far?
Oh, Jimmy.
The year has gone so far. Where'd it go?
I am.
There was a planning session for all day, of course, every day, 5 days.
I've got a few YouTube.
Within 4 hours.
Because there's not much music. Started up the road.
In fact, if you're pulling in some water, cement, driving behind the truck, being able to stop. Her house is right in her house. Top on and off. Oh, no.
We're going to have a sloppy joke. We were going to have assistant company jobs. And then some joke about you got to have more ground beef on. We were at ground beef, I just put 2 minutes. And then we're having surf and turf. Some liquid onions too. 70s we're up in the
the early busing company. The wholesaler on the radio this morning. If you bring in your
It's odd that I'm so hungry.
5-gallon pails, that's all.
The T&T.
No, I wasn't writing down to write down or read.
You don't have anything to gum it.
As long as you got lots of food.
My brother really immerses you in
Have you been there? Up until that point, they explained it in French.
other landscapes.
No, he doesn't use it.
The hydro tower is
The problem is that there's no shortage.
When we had that accident on the 401,
He gets
comes through the winter. Today, at Woodstock was shut down for
back for their 25th anniversary. Went to the house. Guy actually was a young guy. Still
you
rent
got
that.
$400, you see.
There is a beat. We went up to the it's exactly the same thing. And the guys were like showing him around, had a beer with him, and he said it was awesome.
I was so excited.
How they get away with leasing those houses to students is
Once you get past the expressway part and you get up.
Queen City School, literally all rail.
The worst road in the
Great job, great training.
Probably the worst road. Because
The car was off the road.
you have farm equipment and combine and tractors.
Right now,
You
there's a
got
shortage of
transport trucks, and you got mainly horses. And it's just a recipe for disaster. Commuters just driving. You try to slide around the combine and run into a transport truck, they dodge and they hit it. It's all free beer. There's always time.
You think
Yeah, I know, but that's also. Is it really? So it's
Because you do it just in time.
Went down to Columbia, they got the high rise, went down each side, and then right in the middle of two of them, there's a little house left there. houses worth nothing.
Very well.
They were building these dollars, they probably upgrade them.
Little people. When the average age is 8, mine also took their age.
If they're delayed,
He would do all the high clinic stuff. Like, I didn't know that he was I always played with his younger son.
But now he's going down to the credit union.
Always had brand new equipment.
Exactly.
Anybody want coffee? Whatever the company is.
Like, close a regular cup.
One of my brothers like going to bar.
Rocky needs
Oh yeah?
only because I was telling them about your experience as being a business owner down in Jamaica, trying to get stuff up here.
Whole different ballgame. I'm going to district games. Think of just the end of July. Couple couples.
Two plates aside.
Yeah.
Doing love bombs, lunches, so like they're into plus all the other stuff they got.
Toss it out.
Not for me.
Beds, wheelchairs, it took like almost a year to clear it up to make it work. Even with all the contacts that I had in Rotary down here with all the clients, it was crazy. We finally did get it to the hospital.
Well, thank you.
And I've been very jaded ever since about using anything.
It's all the news that's going on in Haiti right now.
Probably is.
I don't know. Because everybody in all
I just be having 145. You're not finding 10 by 20 after?
Yeah.
Are you doing by that?
200 years of growth.
Hope you guys like well, I've never seen a and then I just, I kind of tried to that way for education. Yeah, well, that's what I have. We got to say first when you're wrong. Yeah, I'm put a picture of my parents and all that. I didn't get them when I was seeing just years after we really happy that all
It's only when we
Yeah.
Well, I paid that. You paid off the local gas.
Great year.
You paid off the local
The U.S.
We're ahead of time.
turned a blind eye to the Italian model for years.
I'm only able to buy cars right now. Which with the weather we've had the last 2 weeks has come a bit more because nobody's coming out and saying,
I think I got all mine.
My dad was a plumber.
They're a great sponsor.
It worked out fine.
Not like we had on, we had right in the side.
I think you're driving
I'm reading right between the passenger.
The Chinese do it, and it's really
About 3 weeks later, I'm still in the rental. In some cars.
Oh, yeah.
He comes driving straight over. And I go, nobody comes. He stops. And then, but I love driving down.
good. He took a different route. I guess we just we got some things on the go here.
And so we between Westmount and 2-lane roads, right?
Announcements.
There's that great big
Members' birthdays.
beautiful home. It took 3 years to build.
Gord Ferguson. Gord, if you're watching, happy birthday, buddy. February 17th. Paul Dietrich, February 18th. Kathy Lovies.
the bullseye.
Jerry Ardour, February 23rd. Troy Stubing.
Good.
February 23rd. And then we move on to spouses' birthdays. David Barth, here's Sandy. David. Yeah, Sandy's birthday is February the 10th. And Todd, Jen's birthday was February 15th. Hope you all remember. Anniversaries. Jake, what are you doing on the 21st?
Find a Phoenix.
Are you? That's the anniversary gift?
Well, no, she's already got the anniversary gift.
Oh, okay. Jake and Kelly celebrate their 14-year anniversary on the 21st. Dave and Susan Decker, 47 years on the 22nd. And Graham and Louise Gardner, 44 years on February 22nd. We don't have any Rotary anniversaries to call this week. And the only other announcement is bingo tomorrow night. Congratulations, Allison Scott, Karen Spencer, and Jairus Moss. The only business thing I have on the agenda is that today is that past President Ed Simon, or our president of the foundation, Ed Simon, sent out an email that there will be a vote next week here at the club on the donation for Kids Ability. Now, because the donation is $30,000, we always take it to a vote. So members, to be aware that there'll be a vote next week. Is there any member that has any business that they want to bring to the table today? All right, if not, we'll move on to the big 50-50 pot. Thank you, Jack, for making it only $42.50 today. I guess we got something. Oh my goodness!
No, I'm
Can't call them up. I'm going to call my own numbers.
father-in-law rented December, January, February, November. Grandwife, so we're going there for my kids.
Thank you.
Yeah, Yeah, you know, I've only ever been to one.
Fresh off the press. Last four numbers, 8068. Yes. 8068.
Good luck.
Winner.
It's coming down.
Nope.
I'll hold back.
Two weeks in a row.
Stir those marbles up.
Let's give her the cash. Give her the cash.
Sorry to 8062
Oh, thanks.
and 8063.
Yeah, both good tickets.
Next time.
I'm still drawing the marbles. Bring it over.
There is a. I'm going to call on Chris to come on up and do his Who Am I?
I like to exclude during the day, mid-20s, get out of here.
There, he looks better, I like it.
This is the one place we went, they had fireplaces in the room.
Yeah, I don't know what
It's a little dark.
That night exposed to the room. You throw a lock in the fire.
By the way, if people are aware that Everton is off right now, he will be joining us via Skype. He is off having hip surgery.
Apparently my computer logged in while I was sitting here or something.
He looks better outside than he does lifestyle.
General manager, actor star. But Stoneville, Century.
Yeah.
Wrote all the technicians. Slipped in the parking lot, getting in the truck and broke his leg.
Bring some cards.
I thought I was all set up, but apparently,
These are
But, Doug Fisher's not here today to tell us a joke in the meantime.
married, he's got the first kid.
Yeah.
He's doing well.
How about a dirty joke? Horses coming in the mud.
Yeah, what you were saying about the,
Get John Oliver to
his brand new
give us his
BMW.
secret on how he
Mike
made a
Crosby's
lady for
friend of mine.
$62 at the last one.
Oh, come on.
70, 80, high-end
Got quiet. Oh, tell us about that, John. I was there, but I didn't hear about it.
Terrible.
Live that one down.
Did you walk away with it in your pocket?
Oh, we were in the bank.
You go by the
It's
university.
in the Rotary.
see a thing in here.
That's right.
Not a dirty present.
Try long.
The thing is, it's saying welcome, I can't do anything until I got a good power right on. I'll give it a minute here, I can see it thinking about something here.
I did see the map.
Probably doing one of those.
I had it all power on, take it off, yeah, I'll be ready to go, and,
May have to do one without it.
third slide. Yeah. I didn't bring any notes because it's in the, we got lots of time, so reboot it. Yeah, that's the thing.
Got a phone call from a guy.
So you know who he was.
I want to buy a house.
That's what you get from
Bill, you know some lawyer jokes.
How much would it cost, you know, in city next week?
22 tables.
Or we can do it. $10 grand. The guy wired us out. came to the house the following week and made an appointment to come and see it, walk through the house. Just drove them a check on the spot, so they don't have to get permission to go. Talk with the guy. They're just looking for anyone to get money. Education is the easiest way for them to do that. So they can buy a house, expensive car, all this stuff.
Just did a full system up in Ripley.
Yeah, oh my. Things are pretty capable.
Crunchy or tea, like
I would think anything hard and crisp bottom like that. I didn't shoot it more than
you guys keep assuming it's beef.
Yeah.
Just talking about like,
They called it roast.
you didn't know what it was.
Macaroni and cheese.
That would be, it would be a similar representation.
You're gonna verify you know how to
Like the
count?
mac and cheese.
It's called sandwich spread.
Oh, we didn't get that much.
Yeah, but, and spam. Yeah.
Fry that up.
Yeah, they gotta lift it up.
Stick your face in front of the camera for
He's having hip surgery.
Supposed to be following this guy.
Who am I?
Chris,
There
yeah.
we go.
Chris is
I don't know whether I need this one or not.
Sadly though, things seem to be getting worse.
He's going downhill fast.
That's a graph of my first wedding.
Hold it by your hands.
You're on. Hello.
No, you're not on.
Oh, turn it off. Oh, there's 3 spots. Hello. Testing, testing.
More.
I don't know.
This thing might be on over here.
Oh, come on. Oh, there we go. Okay. It looks like it's still loading here. I had it open, but it didn't work. There should be a little bit more that's going to come up here. Anyway, I'll give it a second. I'm surprised that there's this many people here. I don't know what you guys were expecting, but anyway, and I've never seen anyone else do a Who Am I before, so it might be a bit different than what you guys have seen in the past. But, I'm just hoping that this thing loads. See if we can get into. Yeah.
Ooh, that is.
Yeah, so I tried out this, it's a website called Prezi.com, and you can pull together slideshows and whatnot, but the only problem is it's all web-based, and I'm, reliant on the Wi-Fi in here, so hopefully this downloads. It looks like it's getting really close now. So the way I tried to lay this out was a bit of a timeline. I'm going to start with my growing up with the family, and then school history, and then work history, and then my current family, and then I guess where I am now. So,
Going into the next one.
yeah, it's not quite loaded yet, though. It will be. I might have overused the Zoom functions, I don't know, we'll see what happens. Yeah, I know, that's my mini-me.
We all look a lot better.
Yeah, I know. Oh, we're almost there. There's only one more picture to load down. I think it's going to be. There we go. Anyway, all right. So this is the beginning. I was born March 11th, 1979 at KW Hospital. I found this is a picture apparently from around that time of the hospital. Yeah. And I dug up my baby book to find the birth announcement. So there I am. 8 pounds, 10.5 ounces.
How did you survive being put in that crate?
I know.
Those were outlaws.
Childhood home. I grew up in Lincoln Village in Waterloo. And that's a street view image from my dad's house. That's his car sitting in the driveway still. He's still there. Parents, I'm sure my mom will be really happy with me. So my dad, that's my dad, Wolfgang. He was born in Frankfurt Oder, Germany, which is East Germany on the border of Poland and Germany. There's a bigger Frankfurt in the west, I guess, but anyway. He came here when he was like 2 years old. There's a picture of him from, I don't know, late 70s, early 80s, working on a machine at BF Goodrich. And then that's my mom, Claudine, and she was born in Clarence Creek, Ontario. I come from, well, German on my dad's side and French on my mom's side. Yeah, it's up near, between Ottawa and Montreal there. Siblings, I've got an older brother, Jeff, and a younger sister, Jen. There we are. I don't know how old we are there. And there we are growing up. That was on my wedding day with my siblings. And this is the same couch they were sitting on in the first picture.
Nobody was allowed to sit on it in between photos?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
He's in Chris's house now.
And this is the church I was baptized at and grew up attending. My dad's still active in the congregation there. That's on Andale Road in Waterloo, across from the big, what is the other church? Mennonite church there across the road. All right, so we're into elementary school. My first school was Sandown in Waterloo, and I was in French immersion. Some of the activities I did while I was at that age, I was Beavers. There's my brother and I. Went to Camp Edgewood, which was a Lutheran camp for a year or two, and then I spent pretty much every summer after that at a Quaker camp that my friend got me involved with. So, which is a bit interesting. People often ask me about what it is to be Quaker, which I'm not, but I grew up with them, so and I couldn't find any pictures from when I was really young, there. But anyway, I found a few there.
Eat a lot of oats.
Yeah, that's right. I think they were actually upset with Quaker when they were using that symbol of the guy for that. Anyway. Grade 7 and 8 was at McGregor Senior Public School. I did track and field. Actually, I got the county record for triple jump. And there's a picture from me from the yearbook from volleyball. And there's one from, I guess, the track and field photo. High school was WCI, and that's when I discovered curling. I couldn't find a high school curling picture, but there's a couple of people from high school in that photo. That's glow-in-the-dark curling in Elmira. They host a couple of bonspiels every year, and it's fun. It looks like, that looks pretty bright in there with the camera, the way it's set up, but when you first step out there, you can't see a thing until your eyes adjust. So yeah, it's really neat though. So throughout the year, the ice has these, the paint is designed to glow in the dark, so it looks a bit more colorful than other clubs because of that. And there's a picture of me and a couple of friends skiing. It looks like that might be Blue Mountain.
Happy Valley.
And a picture of me from camp. And I spent a lot of time at camp. So there's a pamphlet that I made it in from, I don't know, one of those things, for prospective campers. So, and then I went off to college. I spent a year doing electronics, and then decided it wasn't for me, and took a year to just work. And then I went back and finished a 3-year diploma for mechanical engineering, automated manufacturing. And that brings me to my work history. So I had a few jobs. First one, well, it wasn't really beam bedding. First I was working for Ralph Beam's wife doing gardening and cutting the lawn and whatnot. And then I think I was about 15 or 16, and Ralph came to me and said, "Hey, come work for me at the mattress company." So I started working there, building the box bases for the mattresses and upholstering the mattresses and helping with deliveries. And I worked there in parallel with NCR for a bit. I started NCR as a high school co-op working in the computer lab, and I shot computers, did repairs, set up computers for new hires. And then that led me into field service technician, which was sort of a part-time job in the evenings. I would work on call. I carried around a little pager. It was before the days of real Blackberries and stuff like that. So, and we'd run around fixing Ontario lottery terminals and ATMs. And then while I was still at NCR, there was a guy at Mr. Sub, or the guy at NCR that owned a Mr. Sub, and asked me to work for him. So I worked for him a little bit just on the side while I was working at NCR. And then another guy at NCR decided to go out on his own and start up a security company, Haas Security. So I worked with him in the summers running cables and new builds for phone, television security, and wired security panels and that kind of stuff. And then finally, I finished school. I left all those other jobs behind, and I started at Stantec. So first job at Stantec was field technician. I did that from about 2003 to 2005. That's our old office on Benton or Frederick and King, just kitty corner. It's where we are, I guess. That's where I started. And I started working in one of these things, a road profiler. So I guess the way these things work, on the front bumper there's a bunch of lasers that measure the roughness of the road. There's something called International Roughness Index that cities will use to measure how rough the roads are. And it has a 360 camera and a GPS, and then in the back corner there, this little guy here is a thing that scans the pavement surface. So
First autonomous.
So what we get is, I guess the image on the right is what our latest technology is with the, it's automatically tried to detect all the cracks in the road. And then the image next to it is sort of our generalized rating that we do old school, where we have the team of raters that are in Egypt right now, that they just trace every crack they see on the road, and it goes into a database. So we collect all this information with the roughness and the distress data, and we load it into software that lets cities plan how to spend their money and what roads to prioritize.
You can track potholes.
Yeah, I mean, we collect potholes and stuff, but it's funny because we'll be out there on the road collecting the data, and people will be running up, "You gotta fix that pothole out there." We don't do anything. We have no construction equipment. All we do is tell them what's here.
You tell them to phone Bob Keyswear.
Yeah, that's right. So that's our new office. So I guess I'll back up a second. So I did field technician, started working in these trucks, and then I transitioned to data analyst, where I was working in the office maybe 50-50 with the data and operating the trucks. I still spent a lot of time in the field. Then around 2010, I became field operations supervisor, so I was the guy managing our fleet of trucks and the staff that were in there. And then that was still bringing me out on the road a lot. So then 2015, I transitioned to data processing supervisor, which mostly keeps me in the office dealing with the data. I might visit a client now and then to try to figure out how to make it work, make their the way we're going to collect the data work with their existing databases and that kind of stuff. So that's our new office on Hagee Boulevard in Waterloo. And then this I threw in there. Every year we do construction. They do it at the Conestoga Mall every year around March. And this is one of the builds we did out of cans and spaghetti and whatever. So every year we've got a team that.
That's for the food bank.
And that's for the food bank.
Yeah.
All that stuff gets donated to the food bank. And then I threw in travel with my work history, because all of these pictures are from being on the road with work. So there I am in Kuwait. The Kuwait towers are in the background. It's really hard to see with that projector, but That was an interesting one because it was actually a company that the company that builds the trucks for us needed someone to go there and train them on some equipment that we didn't even know, and they sent me to Florida to the manufacturer to get trained on it, and then flew me to Kuwait to train them on it. So it was a kind of a fun little trip. There's our truck under Mount Rushmore. You can see the one head up there in the left corner. There I am skiing in Lake Tahoe at the border of Nevada and California. And then just a couple of years ago, I come into the office and my boss says, "What are you doing this weekend?" You know, nothing. I knew he was asking me to work. Well, he was asking me to fly to Kuwait or to Dubai for a meeting. One of the guys that used to run our group is running the office in Dubai now, and had a meeting and wanted a technical guy to be there in case they asked him questions he could answer. So I flew there last minute, and my wife got in 24 hours, if you pay enough money, you can get a passport, in time. So she flew out there with me, and the one on the left is just us. So we did this safari, what do you call it, a desert safari tour, and they had that garb there that you could put on, and then we're riding a camel, and that's the Burj Khalifa, whatever, the tallest building in the world. And then that's just a chandelier tree in California. It was just really neat, massive tree. People drive their cars through there. I'm a member of OSET with the Applied Science Technologist designation. And then I guess that brings me to beginning of my family life. So I met my wife in 2003, that's Linda. There's our first house, which we're still in actually. We're on the market for something new, but I haven't found anything. But there we are with the empty lot. Foundations in. And then this is maybe, I think the spring after we got grass there, and our old cars are still sitting in the driveway there. Then our first kid, although the cat kind of came with me, so I had the cat at my dad's. His name's Shelby. I think he was 18 or 19, 18. We put him down last year, so I think he was 18 when we put him down. And then Cooper was new with us. And my wife, I showed her this picture, and she was joking that it's been this long and I still can't put away my shoes. So, so there's our wedding day. We were married at Springfield Golf and Country Club in June 2007. And so this is a carousel in Guelph. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Riverside Park, but it happened to be open the day that we were getting pictures done around there, so we got a ride on the carousel. That was kind of neat. And there's, I guess, a more current picture of my parents with us. Okay, so my first real kid, Hannah, was born September 7th, 2008. So that's her there. And she's really big into karate. This is her at a tournament doing her thing in front of the judges. And this is her just a couple weeks ago in Elmira with Team McDonald, which is now Team Ontario. And she was there too. Actually, she got third place in her age group for a hit, draw, tap skills competition. So she did pretty well there. And then my youngest daughter is Adeline. She was born May 2011. And there's Hannah looking down at her. It's not a great picture of her, but there they are. And that's their Power Wheels. I rigged up this little hitch thing to their wagon so they could scoot around like that. And there's her playing soccer. She loves playing soccer. And then that's just us, and you can see all the gray and the Cooper's muzzle there now. All right, so I think we're almost ready to wrap this up. So my current involvement, I'm data processing supervisor at Stantec. I'm assistant coach for juniors at the Elmira Curling Club. And I'm obviously a member here at the Kitchener-Westmount Rotary Club. And some of my hobbies and interests are curling, woodworking and crafts, tinkering with electronics and computers, canoeing, skiing, travel. So these are just a few pictures. There's us standing on the deck on a cruise ship, I think last March. It's a gate I built. I painted a logo on the canoe. That's a Minion costume. I go a little over top of my costume sometimes. So. And so.
Did you make it?
Yeah, I made it all like from scratch. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
That's impressive.
Yeah, I mean the pants. I went to Valley Village and I found the biggest pants I could find, and cut it all up and made it all, you know. Fishing off of our family friend's dock there, and that's our junior curlers at the provincials in Elmira. That was a couple weeks ago there. And there's Hannah. There's Adeline, my two daughters. They're both out there on the ice. Here's, I don't know, anybody do Elf on the Shelf? Most of you guys are older, but that's another thing. I tend to go a little over the top, but this was our Elf doing a little bit of curling with Barbie sitting on the sidelines. And that was me volunteering at the provincial curling. There's a pumpkin that I carved. Obviously using a template. I won't take all the credit there. And that's an arcade that I restored. That it was a curb find that was kind of falling apart. It's an old Nintendo arcade machine. So. And then why I chose to be a Rotarian. So first, a friend of mine from the Guelph Trillium Rotary, Ryan Player, encouraged me to join. He had me out last year curling in the Can-Am Bondsfield in Stratford. And then I just, obviously making new friends and networking, and then possibly personal growth and leadership development. And that's about it.
Anybody have any questions?
Pretty high precedent.
I need a new gate.
Chris, how do you feel about getting a curling team, a Rotary curling team together to go to Scotland? Has Jack Kinchman talked to you about that?
He hasn't talked to me yet, but it'll be a lot of fun.
Well, we wouldn't talk to you yet.
Well, I mean, we haven't talked seriously.
Jack was serious.
He didn't have any money to
I
put.
think that'd be awesome. Yeah. The guy that got me into this, he's hosted the guys from Scotland all the time.
Well, then fine, go with your friend.
No, he wanted me to join them. I said, "There's no way I'm driving out to Guelph." So I'm gonna need a new fan.
Well, Chris, listen, I guess this is an honor.
Sorry, I did that.
That's okay. So on behalf of the club, I just wanted to express our thanks for putting that together for us today. We often say that some of our best speakers are our own club members, and that's certainly true here today. The technology of these presentations just keeps going up and up.
That was my first time using that. It's really great to
But probably the most important thing is we realized how much cuter your children's baby pictures were than yours. That's something that will be etched in all of our minds. So thank you, Chris. Okay.
No, never been asked back. What?
And with that, if there's nothing else for the good of Rotary, meeting's adjourned.
For some of the older ones.
And the other may be our normal. Not our best. Sorry.
It's the autograph.
Nice to meet you. I got an afternoon snack.
I'll be doing that.
I've never seen anybody pull
Thank you.
I was I forget those retirees.